It's loud, it's brutal, and it's demonic, but is it really worth all the trouble? Let's find out. The Dodge Demon is a factory-built drag car. There are no subtleties, no compromises, and no niceties on this car. It's all about raw power and speed. The hood has a massive air intake that feeds air to the supercharged 6.2-liter V8 engine, which produces a staggering 840 horsepower and 770 foot-pounds of torque on 100-octane fuel. The fenders have oversized flares that accommodate the 18-inch wheels with specially designed Nitto drag radials, which are the only ones that can handle the torque of this beast. The trunk has a crate that contains a set of tools, a jack, a torque wrench, and a pair of skinny front wheels that reduce the weight and drag on the front end of the vehicle. The interior is stripped of any unnecessary weight, such as the rear seats, sound system, the carpet, and the only options are a passenger seat, a rear seat, and sunroof, which each cost $1 if selected. Everything else is done by the giant 8.4-inch touchscreen that controls everything from launch control to the drag mode. But the most important feature of this car is controlled by your right foot. According to Dodge, the Demon can accelerate from 0 to 60 in just 2.3 seconds and run the quarter mile in 9.65 seconds, reaching 140 miles per hour, which is actually quicker than a Bugatti Veyron. It can also pull a wheelie, lifting its front wheels off the ground for 2.9 feet in stock form. This makes sense because the Demon is factory equipped with a line lock system and a trans brake, which will aid in launching the car as the Christmas tree drops to green. It has an overall top speed of 168 miles per hour, which is limited by the tires, and has a track mode that lets you adjust the suspension, steering, and traction, and the cooling system to suit your racing style. The Demon is a blast to drive. It launches like a rocket, shifts like a bullet, and stops like it has a parachute. The steering is sharp and direct, and the suspension is stiff and stable. And the brakes are powerful and reliable. The car feels light and responsive despite weighing over 4,200 pounds in factory form. The only downside is it has a range of 240 miles, which is 113 miles less than the Hellcat model. It also has poor fuel economy, rating at 13 miles per gallon in the city and 22 on the highway. And it has a high price tag starting at $86,390, which is $19,000 more than the Hellcat model. But before you get too excited, we're being charged $200,000 in the game, and we don't get any other options for challengers. The Dodge Demon is a remarkable car that delivers exhilarating performance, stunning looks, and cutting-edge technology. It's one of the best drag cars you can buy, and one of the best muscle cars you can buy, period. But it's also a niche car that sacrifices range, comfort, and affordability for the sake of speed and fun. It's not for everyone, but for those who want the ultimate challenger experience, it's hard to beat this factory-built quarter-mile monster. It's important to acknowledge Gran Turismo has had drag strips and drag cars in the game as far back as Gran Turismo 2. So hopefully we're seeing a little foresight into the developers' plans and we'll find a drag strip in a future update. But for now, let's take it to Tokyo and see where it ends up on our list. The Dodge Demon may be a purpose-built drag car, and it may be a little bit overpowered for the track, but it really doesn't get too out of shape, even though it's pretty happy to break the rear tires loose if you're not delicate on the throttle. This may be the perfect car for a ballerina. I prefer cars that are a little bit more light and agile personally, but I do respect Dodge for being willing to produce something so ridiculous. Fully built out, the Demon ends up with 810 performance points. The engine will produce 1,186 horsepower and 935 foot-pounds of torque. After 5 stages of weight reduction, it ends up weighing in at 2,952 pounds, but keep in mind the 5th weight reduction alone is $300,000. The car remains nose heavy as well, with 58% of the weight over the front wheels, which is part of the reason it has a tendency to feel less agile than some of the other cars we've tested. This may be an added benefit for drag racers. Leave a comment below if you know the answer. But the biggest drawback to the Demon is the fuel consumption. I was just able to squeeze out 3 laps before running out of fuel. The tires were a better story, and they wore in way better than expected with 10% wear to the front and 25% wear to the rear. It's worth mentioning my fastest lap against the 800 series GT cars was completed on fuel map 6. Adjusting the fuel map to range instead of power helped me retain the grip of the rear tires with a less delicate throttle response. The Demon also benefits from having an 8-speed transmission. As the car loses traction, it can often be found by working through the gears to find one that's willing to plant the power. We ended up crossing the line at 1 minute 50 seconds .760, which puts it right behind the Maserati MC20 and just in front of the Corvette C7. While the Demon is not the most agile, it can be forced to cooperate if you're a Mopar fan. For me, it'll be waiting dormant in the garage waiting for Polyphony to add a quarter-mile race. I appreciate all of you guys watching, and please like and subscribe so you don't miss any future content.